Vital Intellect presents Royal Jelly by Juan Unlimited Rivera Jr. Chapter 5, Emergence, Part 1. Nothing grows out here. As she stares out the bus window, Athena notices the arid landscape on both sides of the road. She and her team are going to the arena for the Abundance Day celebration's special preliminaries. The bus runs silent as they speed along. Just the hushed sound of the tires treading on the road are heard. She sits in a window seat towards the front. Jen is next to her, conversing with one of Gabriella's assistants. As she continues to stare out the window, she feels nothing but the buzz of self-assuredness. She is prepared, focused, and knows she will win. She knows this is simply the next step to the dream, the next step to becoming champion. She contemplates the next steps after the preliminaries. She will officially become an arena fighter. She will take part in all types of games: combat, team combat, monster slaying, races, contests of strength, endurance, and intelligence. She wonders what it will be like to face off with arena fighters who have been nothing more than images on a screen to her for years. To see them face to face them down and defeat them along her way. What will it be like to meet Masala? A thrill comes over her as she thinks of the moment she meets her idol, the very one who inspired her to this life. The life of a fighter, the life of a victor. The skyscrapers come closer as the bus begins to leave the desert area and enter the capital's downtown. They drive through the city's highways, bridges, and tunnels. The skyscrapers, reaching impossibly far into the sky, are beautiful, new-looking, and gleaming in the sunlight. They contrast the bus's immediate surroundings of old rundown buildings and deserted convenience stores. The sidewalks are littered with human life, milling about in an eclectic mix of everyday people, the homeless and apparent drug addicts. They drive through the slum and hit gridlock traffic. Everyone is out early for this year's Abundance Day. Most will be heading to the arena while others to restaurants, family houses, and worship centers. After a while, they turn a corner, and the arena becomes visible in the far distance. Anticipation grabs Athena as she stares at the grand structure. The city starts to come alive with celebration as they come closer to the arena. Street vendors are out selling brightly colored clothing and graphic tees of some of the more famous arena fighters. Snacks and plates of steaming food are served from a plethora of tables and food trucks, while upbeat music blasts from speakers. After crawling through the crowded streets, they finally arrive just outside of the arena. There is a rainbow of humanity outside. Many are waiting in lines to get inside while others walk about, minding their business, crossing the streets and dodging the slow-moving traffic. From the darkest, bronze-like skin to the palest, milk-like tans, Athena finds the array of skin tones amongst the crowds fascinating. The majority are a mid-reddish brown as herself, the coloring of those mostly native to these lands. Those who are paler are of the conquistadors who came from a far-off land with their technology, violence, and wars with those from their homeland. The darkest, known as morenos, also come from a far-off land, but not by choice. Their ancestors were brought here by the conquistadors as slaves. The conquistadors came here and forcibly took the land from the humble natives, mostly living within the forests. They razed the land, subjugated the native population, and cruelly kept the Morenos enslaved for centuries. All of this happened over 1,000 years ago. Now, the continent where Athena lives is a giant melting pot of the three cultures and ethnicities. The grand majority of this kingdom's subjects are a beautiful mix of the three races, including Athena. They all now share the same culture, the same history. You will see pale conquistadors amongst the native people of the forest, with their blonde hair and light-colored eyes, and those of the Morenos in the highest stations of parliament and the royal court. Even King Alejandro is of a brown complexion. They drive under an overpass leading into the arena, and down into a tunnel heading underneath the structure. After passing through the dark tunnel, they arrive in an underground parking lot. As the bus parks, Athena's heart jumps, as the brakes jolt her slightly forward, revealing to her how nervous she is. As the bus's doors hiss open, all her teammates, still locked in their personal conversations, jump up to exit. Before anyone can exit the bus, Gabriella stands and faces everyone. She attempts to get their attention by addressing them as ladies. No one seems to hear her except for a few towards the front. Gabriella repeats herself, and still no one responds. Luis then stands and lets out a loud whistle. Everyone snaps to attention and looks towards the front of the bus. Gabriella begins to speak. "Ladies, we are here. The moment you've all been training for has arrived." She pauses for a moment, looking at the team with a soulless expression. Today, you will see a lot of glitz, a lot of glamour. But the danger you're about to experience is very real. Some of you will die today. She pauses again, allowing the sober reality she just delivered to sink in. There's no getting around that. Stick together as a team, listen to your leader, and remember your training. Remember why you are here. Not because you are slaves, but because of choice. You all get to choose to be gladiators at my camp, and your excellence made me choose you for these highest of games, the games of the arena. Some respond with low-volumed hoots and gestures of agreement. You are strong, you are willful, and today you are one. There is no you, there is no they. The only they are the ones you will conquer. Athena's teammates react again with more enthusiasm, survive together, enter the arena as unknowns, leave as gladiators of the highest order. Represent the capital today. You are the capital. You are the finest that the kingdom has. You are the murder, the crows of death. Remember this today and be victorious. All howl, chant, and stomp their feet in unison at Gabriella's speech. Gabriella looks to the team with a smile and then exits the bus. They follow behind her. They all make their way down some corridors and to the arena's locker rooms. There they freshen up, fasten each other's gear, check their weapons, and talk to pass the time. A buzzer goes off and members of the arena's staff enter the locker room, telling all to follow them to the central chamber. Athena and her team line up and make their way through a single doorway to follow the staff member. Gabriella and Louise stand close to the door, wishing all good fortune as they pass. Gabriella stops Athena as she passes and tells her, "Bring them home." Athena nods and continues out the door. Gabriella's words pull at her like gravity. After a short trek down a narrow hallway with red-colored walls, they arrive at an opening that leads to a large space. They have arrived in the central chamber. The walls are translucent and colored orange. They have lights behind them, giving the space an eerie ambiance. There are what looks to be hundreds of other people there. Warriors, slaves, criminals, and wealthy venturists in it for the thrill. Athena has seen these types of contenders countless times in preliminaries as a spectator. Athena looks back at her team. All young women, close in height and build. Beautiful, strong, finely tuned killing machines, all with their hair tied back in buns, braids, rows, and the like. A team of 13 women, including Athena, sent to the arena to represent the capital's main slave camp, which is known to pump out champion gladiators. It's an odd thing, really. In a competition dominated by men, here is this team of average-sized girls to take them on. As eager and well-trained as they are, the odds are stacked against them. Women tend not to fend well in the arena. Some contests favor the female form, but in most strength and size give the advantage, something that men naturally have over women. Still, no matter the sex, the size, or even skill level, all types have risen in these walls. Masala, of course, won the championship and held it for 5 years before she retired last year. Now it is time for a new dynamo, a new upsetter. Regardless of her being a woman, Athena knows she'll reach those heights. No man, woman, no human being can stop her. Once Athena was chosen to lead the team at this year's games, she requested it to comprise mostly women. Athena thought it would be fun to dominate the preliminaries with a group of other girls, many she had already observed at the camp. That, and there'd be fewer men attempting to dominate her or usurp her position as team leader. Gabriella agreed to this and decided to make the entire team female. Athena was surprised at Gabriella's decision, being that it could put the team at a disadvantage. But since that decision was made, they have been in the public eye. The capital's all-women team. Girl power storms the arena. The ladies show the men how it's done. The cheesy headlines were countless, but here they are. The preliminaries are only moments away from starting. Athena can only think of one thing now, and that's winning, of her winning, no matter what. Athena begins to look around herself and take a closer look at the other prospects. She notices a team of Waku pirates wearing black leather, their faces weathered by the sea. Despite their otherwise rough look, Athena has always found their light, milky complexion beautiful. Their skin tone contrasts perfectly with their jet black hair. There's also a sorry group of slaves, untrained, unarmed, and unprepared. For them, this is an execution, and judging from their facial expressions, they know it. As Athena and her team walk past the pacing group of slaves, she notices a venturist with an interesting getup. She wears an exoskeleton around her lanky frame. The suit adds a few inches to her height. Her movements are matched perfectly by the suit's arms and legs. She is middle-aged with pale skin and light-colored eyes. There is a multitude of pastel-colored geometric shapes over her skin-tight underarmor. She stands with some others of her ilk, conversing and showing off her exoskeleton. The team stops walking as the staff member leading them slows. They turn towards and stare at each other, motionless and expressionless. Some have sweat beaded on their brow, others breathe heavily. The lights dim. Athena and the others begin to look around themselves in a slight panic. "Oh shit, bitches!" Sophia shouts. "Sophia!" Athena snaps at her. Sophia throws her hands up, asking what she did wrong while a fellow teammate hits her to stay quiet. The announcer can then be heard. He is announcing the preliminaries. The crowd begins to cheer. A dread overcomes Athena. She did not expect to feel this way. Nervousness, sure, but this feeling, this sinking feeling, it's nearly debilitating. Dread nearly turns into hysteria when the room they're in proves to be a platform as the floor begins to rise. Athena takes a deep breath and tells herself to remember her training. As the platform continues to rise, she turns away from her team, stands at attention, tucks her shield close to her body, and screams, "Atención, y atención señora!" All 12 teammates yell, snapping at attention behind Athena, taking the same stance as her. Formación uno. The girls answer back, ejecutando la formación uno, and begin to line up behind Athena in 2 parallel rows. Athena's pulse quickens. She attempts to control her breathing and focus on the next commands. She begins to recite them in her head. Stand at attention. Formation 2. Swords to the right, shields ahead. Formation 3. She repeats it over and over in her head. She closes her eyes and focuses on the words, stand at attention. Formation 2. Swords to the right, shields. "Tequila, shots on me when we get home!" Sophia blurts out. "Oh, would you just shut the fuck up?" Athena finally snaps. "What did I do?" Sophia pleads with genuine concern in her voice. The two begin to go back and forth, arguing over Sophia's unprofessionalism. "Athena! Sophia!" Jennifer screams at the two still locked in their quarrel. Athena turns to Jennifer, and Jennifer gives her a wide-eyed look. Athena looks around herself and realizes that the platform has stopped rising. They are above ground now. They are at the center of the arena. Everything is bright, everything is colorful, everything is loud. The world starts to spin for Athena. Just stripes of blue, red, black, white, and green. Shapeless, formless. Amid her delirium, she can hear the announcer exclaim, "Comenzar!" Then she hears gates opening, the roar of the crowd, and the snarl of beasts. As Athena begins to get a hold of herself, she sees off-white blocks standing more than 8 feet tall, spread around a field of green astroturf. The sound of creatures galloping can be heard from behind them. Dog-like abominations, black in color with a disturbing gait, emerge from behind the blocks. They are numerous and begin to tear through the prospects. A large, hideous-looking creature lummoxes from behind another pillar. Its skin is pale, filled with pustules. It has beady eyes that glow green and a large, gaping mouth with rows of sharp, canine-like teeth. It stands on 2 legs and is obviously a cyborg, with shoulders made of metal and a left arm that is replaced with a large cannon. The creature looks towards Athena and her team. It raises its arm and shoots. The ball of plasma ejected from the cannon flies just past Athena's head. She looks behind her and sees several of her teammates looking towards the ground in shock. She looks down to see one of her team lying there, her face imploded from the impact of the plasma ball. The flesh surrounding where her face was burns and sizzles, letting off a horrid smell. All around, monsters of all sorts are maiming and killing prospects by the handful. Athena stands there in shock, stiff with fear. Suddenly she feels a slap across her shoulder. "Athena!" She hears someone scream, then she is slapped across her face. "Athena!" She comes out of her shock and sees Jennifer's face close to hers. Jennifer screams, "Call for formation 2!" Athena looks at Jennifer and nods. She puts her left foot forward, her right foot behind its shoulder width. She bends deep at the knees, holding her shield in front on her left arm, grasping her sword and holding it tight to her body in her right hand. She focuses forward, lowering her head, and commands, "Formación dos." Jennifer forms next to her, but the other teammates do not reply. Jennifer looks behind her and yells, "Formación dos, ahora!" Athena looks behind herself and sees the girls scurrying about to form the formation, yelling back, "Ejecutando la formación dos." They form, let out a unified grunt, and Athena is centered again. She fights away the feeling of shame from losing her composure and comes into the now. All that matters now is leading. All that matters now is survival, and that will come from the training. Follow the training. Dispersion tres, Athena directs and Jennifer leads a group of girls with their shields up forward, while a second group led by Athena heads diagonally to the right. Athena looks at the monstrosity with the arm cannon and yells, "Target ahead! Formación tres! Sí, señora!" The entire team answers and Jennifer's group pushes forward towards the abomination. The abomination turns towards the approaching group and opens fire. He sends out a volley of green-colored plasma balls that are mostly blocked. Some do get through, and Athena watches one of her teammates fall, then another. She pushes down the feeling of grief at the sight and orders her group to attack. While Jen's group distracts the monster, Athena's group flanks it from its left. Athena leads, stabbing it in its side. The monster lets off a low, guttural yell. Two from her group join her in stabbing the monster, including Sophia with her spear. The others jump over them and attack the monster at its head. They stab it over and again in the head until it finally falls. The team takes a breath and looks at their victim, lifeless on the astroturf. The arena crowd roars at their victory. The sound is surreal, so many cheering at once. Everyone smiles and celebrates for a moment. Then, two more abominations, the same as the one they just fell, come from behind one of the large cubes. Athena and Jennifer look at each other. Formation 3 again? Jennifer asks. Athena focuses on the two monsters for a moment, then answers, "You and your team take the one on the left. We'll take the one on the right, and we'll meet around the big block ahead." "Sí, señora," Jennifer exclaims and the two run off. "Swords on me," Athena commands, referring to her part of the team. The girls hear her and form behind her. They rush the monster on the right. It turns towards them, roars, and begins to raise its arm cannon. Athena then hears a high-pitched screech from her left. Something tackles her to her back. She looks up and sees a grotesque creature mounted atop her. Like the other abomination, it is part flesh and part machine. This one is as tall as a man, thin with spider-like appendages. Its torso is synthetic, made from both metallic and polymer parts. Its head is that of a human, one side missing flesh, the other with the expression of a dead man. The creature looks down at Athena and mutters "Te ver el martes." It raises one of its appendages, the end of it sharpened to a single point, and brings it down towards Athena's head. She cuts off the monster's appendage before it can run her through. The creature screams in pain and the sound is like a nail scratching against metal. Athena winces at the sound, then stabs the pitiful creature from under its chin. It freezes at the penetration of Athena's sword. Athena pulls the blade out and the creature falls to the side. Athena, still on the ground, is faced with the scene of her team fighting the large abomination. She sees one of her teammates dead on the floor, staring up with her eyes open. Her remaining 3 teammates poke at the creature, looking for an opening. The monster looks at Athena. It raises its cannon at her and fires. Athena closes her eyes and waits for the final blow that never comes. She opens her eyes and sees Sophia standing in front of her with her shield up, green mist coming off it. Sophia lowers her shield and hoists her spear above her shoulder, ready to toss it. Before she can, the creature lets off another shot and hits her square. Sophia stands still holding up her spear. She then drops the spear and falls to one knee, holding where she was hit in her midsection. Green steam rises from the wound. Sophia turns to Athena with dread written across her face. She then smiles at Athena and says, "What the hell are you doing laying down? Get up, you have to win this thing." Sophia's eyes then roll to the back of her head, and she falls. She's gone. Athena picks herself up, looks down at Sophia's body, and begins to cry. She then looks at the creature, still locked in battle with the others. Her eyes focus. There is a buzz of energy running through her. All she can see is the monstrosity and her next moves. Athena picks up Sophia's spear. She marches forward towards the creature and lets out a loud whistle. The abomination looks towards her. As it turns its head, Athena throws the spear through one of its eyes. The creature screams and falls to the ground dead. Athena then straps her shield to her back, looks at Jennifer and screams, "Yenny!" Jennifer, fighting the other abomination, looks towards Athena. Athena tells her, "Damo un impulso!" Jennifer nods and runs towards Athena. Athena runs towards Jennifer. Just before they meet each other, Jennifer drops to one knee and holds her shield just above her head. Athena runs at Jennifer and jumps on top of the shield, jumping off it towards the abomination. The abomination sees Athena coming and swats at her. She pulls herself into a ball midair, the monster's hand passing under her. She comes out of the ball and thrusts her sword into the creature's neck. The monster screams in pain. Athena uses her sword lodged in the monster's neck as leverage, pulling herself up onto its shoulder. She removes the blade. The monster reaches for her with its hand, and Athena jumps over its grasp. As she lands, she drives her sword into the side of its head. It yells again but still stands. She removes her sword and drives it again into its head, then again and again. Jennifer commands the surviving girls to assist Athena. They gather around the monster, stabbing it over and over. It lets out a sorrowful moan and finally falls. The crowd comes alive at the team's victory. "Girl power indeed," the announcer exclaims over the prompter. The capital's premier gladiator training camp always delivers the best athletes. This year is no different. "Girl power?" Athena scoffs at the comment. "Outdated, chauvinistic nonsense," she thinks to herself. She takes her shield off her back and looks to her team. No time for celebrations. Quickly, around the block. Everyone follows Athena around the right side of the large cube. Now, all in one group, everyone follows Athena around the left side of the large block. Once they round the large block, they are met with gunfire. "Shields up!" Athena screams as she falls to the floor, balling her body behind her shield. Bullets bounce off her shield as she lies behind it with her eyes closed. She wonders the whole time if she'll feel one penetrate her still exposed legs. The firing stops and she peeps past her shield at their attackers. There are 3 small individuals, inhuman, wearing visors tied to their heads. Their skin has a darkish green hue. They do not have noses, from what she can tell, and possess oversized mouths with large squared teeth to match. They seem fit and young, at least by human standards, but their flesh is wrinkled and old. They begin to reload their assault rifles and one exclaims, "Sabrosa!" As he loads a new clip. Athena stands immediately and orders "Atacar al enemigo," and rushes the 3 enemies. They try to open fire again, but Athena has already closed enough distance to assault one of the armed creatures before they have a chance. She stabs it through, and then slices the head off another. The remaining one manages to let off a few shots, but Athena blocks them with her shield and then dispatches him with ease. Relieved, Athena turns to check on her team. Numbness overcomes her as she realizes that they are dead, all dead. She goes into disbelief and checks them again visually. They are on the floor lifeless, riddled with bullet wounds. She does not accept the reality of the situation until she sees Jennifer's body, her friend, her closest comrade. A bullet reached her forehead before she could raise her shield. Athena goes numb. The world seems to turn on its own. She tries in vain to compose herself. As she tries to turn herself away from the scene, she suddenly sees Gabriella's face telling her to bring them home alive. The vision overwhelms her and she vomits. Her hands are on her knees, she's bent over and breathing heavily. Athena feels like electricity is running through her body. She can still hear the roar of the crowd. The stadium lights seem brighter than ever. She instinctively looks up ahead of her and sees 2 of the dog-like abominations approaching her. Their heads are lowered, growling as they slowly step towards her, exposing their large, rigid fangs. She looks behind her and sees several more pulling at Jennifer's carcass. The sight defeats her. A feeling she had never felt before, a feeling of despair with the gravity of a black hole. It almost brings her to her knees. As she looks down at her pool of vomit between her boots, a voice within her speaks. There is no defeat, only resolution. The sensation is strange. The voice came from within, but it did not feel like her own. She does not grasp its meaning. Regardless, she knows she must make a decision, to die or to live. She grasps her sword's hilt tight and tells herself, "I decide to live. At the least, fight." She looks up to the 2 abominations ahead. They have positioned themselves to pounce. She knows it is coming, so she stands still and waits. The one to the right lunges first, then the one to the left. As the one to the right reaches her, she stabs it in its gaping mouth. The one to the left meets the face of her shield and bounces off. It lands on its feet and comes in for another attack. Athena pushes forward with her shield and hits the abomination square in the face. It falls to the ground on its side and Athena stabs it in the heart. She turns around and sees the ones that are pulling at Jen's body. They raise their heads at Athena. Without thinking, Athena lunges at the pack. The dog-like creatures yelp and run off as she approaches. Surprised, Athena stops running and watches them circle the block in different directions and disappear. Athena looks down at Jennifer's body. Her eyes are wide open in a blank stare. She looks at that horrible hole in her forehead, trickling blood. She feels the pain of the sudden loss well up in her and begins to cry. She kneels to the body. "Ay, panna," she says, as she caresses the side of her dead friend's face. "Te guayarse usted." Athena looks down, sobbing for a moment. Then she looks back at Jessica's face. Don't worry, I'll kill them for you. Thank you for listening to Royal Jelly Chapter 5, Emergence Part 1. Come back next week for Part 2.